Like Loki before me, the true trickster god of RPGs, your main man may appear at any place, at any time, in any form. But today I come to you speaking from the lips of an animated stone statue, a disembodied head of a stone statue, Greco-Roman style. That's right, Mama. We're going to talk about tradition Verbena, Mage the Ascension. Not to be confused with Mage the Awakening. Mage the Ascension is from the old or classic World of Darkness line. I just like to call it World of Darkness, the third game produced, released behind Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse. We have had the co-creator of Mage the Ascension on for 3 interviews, totaling, I don't know, 5 hours, something like that. Phil Ricotta, you can look at it. We have what about Mage the Ascension 20th edition, 20th edition Mage the Ascension, going to be out very soon. Certainly one you're going to pick up, you're going to partake of, and can get involved again with that World of Darkness line. So this is a current, a modern, a game going into the future, going to have additional supplements coming out. But today we're going to be talking about Verbena. Now, I don't like to do this thing I see over and over people doing. They just almost read out of Player's Handbook about what a fighter or cleric is, what a vampire for Clan Malkavian is. No one really does very many mage videos, so we don't have too much of that. So we're going to talk about Verbena. You can certainly yourself read for any of the editions exactly what it says about the Verbena. What we're going to go over in this video is certain takes, certain ideas, certain aspects, certain real-world infusions you could bring to add life to your Verbena, particularly if you got to populate an entire chantry. Bam! 15 Verbena. No problem. We're going to talk about just how to make them, just how to do them, just how to make them feel real. And the key when making characters is always make people that are real. Make them believable, make them different. You might make some a bit on the comical side, some extremely dark, some of certain strong, angular personality types, some that are soft and easy. Now, when we're talking about the Verbena, let's examine this first of all. They are in charge of the sphere of life. That is the sphere that their tradition resides power over. There are 9 traditions, there are 9 spheres, and life is theirs. Life is, of course, if we were all real mages, and we could all have 1 sphere, and we could all have 3 dots in it, all of us would want life. It is by far the most amazing of the spheres in Mage the Ascension of Magic. If you're on a game that's not very realistic, if you're in a game where life does not seem that important, your game, there are some substantial root core problems to your game. Life is by far the most interesting and awesome discipline, or sphere, I should say. It allows you to do a tremendous amount of things. Cause and cure disease, blindness, shut down organs, allow someone to live for a longer time, heal people, heal yourself, live a longer period of time, much longer yourself, enhance your virility, your sexual prowess and potency, your physical appearance, your muscularity, your agility, your cardiovascular conditioning. All of these things are only really the tip of the iceberg of what you could accomplish with life. You can make yourself more resistant to cold, for example, and to be able to tolerate extreme climates. Like the extremophiles that we see, you can give yourself a large number of tremendous different advantages when you look down, even at the first 3 dots of the sphere of life. It's tremendous, it's brilliant, it's beautiful, and it's certainly something that you'd want to have. I strongly enjoy it, and there's a lot of different ways and takes and so forth you can have with life. You can even change your shape, as your main man is changed into a disembodied stonehead, Loki style, bang bang boom for you. What would Ander do? Know that. You understand what I'm saying to you, baby? Now, you can see just a few videos back, along with my friend Jenny, we showed you a Mage the Ascension awakening scene, bringing a character from that state of being mundane, of being typical, of being non-awakened, a sleeper, a mortal, an individual without that spark of life in her, to an awakening scene, and through those baby steps of magehood, of the power of the Magi residing inside that avatar that now seeks to reel and speak, and well, we shall see in upcoming episodes exactly what that mage might speak and seek to do. So, I think it's very important to understand and to think that when you're populating a chantry like that, and I built 9 Verbena NPCs for that chantry alone in the context of the game. So, when you're building that number of characters for a tradition, one of the worst things that you can do is have them all be the same, have them to be bland and mundane and similar. Oh, was that Bob or Joe? Gosh, I can't remember which one that was. They all kind of blend together. It's so hard to. If you're hearing things like that from your players, boy, as a game master, storyteller, as a flame tender, you are not doing a very good job. You want to do better. You want to throw that spice of life inside them and throw different spices. And the main man will come from the spice rack to your mind, and we're going to talk about just how to do that. Now, Verbena typically follow from pagan traditions, from the New Age, from that mystical experience, from neo-paganism. Now, we're going to talk about paganism and neo-paganism, some of the differences here. So, I want you to first think conceptually about these sort of people. Now, a lot of these people can be laudable, laughable, and silly in real life if well, to a lot of people. I know there are going to be some people out there that think that whole deal is just wonderful and great. And I'm not going to go into expounding upon that too much. But the key point is, if you take that sort of person, right, that you find in the occult section of Barnes and Nobles, or I should say the New Age section of Barnes and Nobles, and you look at that sort of person who is the slightly academically oriented individual, maybe a girl that likes to wear long skirts and a pentacle, and is perhaps what is classified as an eclectic pagan basket. Just grab whatever you want. Tiamat, Isis, uh, Ishtar, Artemis, Freya, whatever is on sale right now from the bargain bin of religion, and just sort of cobble a piecemeal that together, and not taking that sort of person who has that, reading Buckman's, what do they used to call it, the big blue book of bullshit, and taking those kind of ideas, Silver Raven Wolf, and so forth, and you bring those things together, and you go down to your gathering of the tribes, to your experiences like that, you can really relate to an individual like that who is maybe a bit more reserved, and that's sort of the idea I'm trying to get across here, but has all those sort of touches, is maybe looked at a bit oddly by their conservative Christian family members, and so forth. So you could take those sort of ideas and put them in there. Oh, well, I do this, but my father, he was a preacher, he was a deacon, he was heavily involved with the church, whatever it is. My mother always at the bake sales and so forth, and we have those issues. So you can just infuse just a little bit of that right in this character right away, right? We got the long skirt, we got the pinnacle, we have a slight, not a tremendous, but a slight academic sort of background. We have some parental issues, some family issues, some dark sheep aspects right to this character right away. We maybe put glasses on her, and we're kind of rocking and rolling. Right there, you have a character model. I'm not by any means saying you don't need to add quite a bit more to that, because you certainly do. That's not much of a character, but it is a great base point start, a touchstone that we can build on. This is a person that you can encounter and see with quite regularity. Go to Barnes and Nobles on a Friday and Saturday night and hang out near with an eye to the New Age section, and you will see someone like this walk by, near guarantee. So, and that's not a besmirchment of this particular person. In fact, one of her may be watching this video right now. And if you are, boom, hit the thumbs up. You understand what I'm saying? Bam, just like that. It's merely saying you want to infuse that element of real into the character, and it quintessentially stimulates that character, and people can see and feel and believe and go, okay, yeah. And she has a bit of a smell of incense to her. She tends to wear earthy shades to her clothing, maybe sandals. We're moving in a great direction there for this character in terms of the beginning, right? And that's what we're talking about. So you can also have your pagans and your neo-pagans. Now, for paganism, really what we're looking at are real-world religions that were not decimated. A pagan is a Hindu, is a follower of Shintoism, something like that, that is still practiced and never had a complete fall off. Now, if we're looking at something that follows an old Egyptian religious tradition, or the traditions of the Druidism, or your Eastern European mystical traditions, the follower of the Norse, the follower of Greek or Roman pantheons, a follower of the old Babylonian gods, these people are neo-pagans. So the term itself seems to be met with besmirchment by these sorts of individuals. It is essentially ideas and items that have been resurrected through literary research, through the preserved of remaining texts and texts written down by Christians who were converting these people. And additionally, you have anthropological papers and research that have been done over the last 150 years or so that brought light to such things as Wicca and some of these traditions, seeing a rise predominantly from about 1880 to the modern day, with ebbs and flows to the aspects of how these religions, marginal religions, came to be. So let's examine those, and then we'll take a bit of a look at the New Age as well. So when we're doing this, remember, we want to take that base, that core, that stereotypical sort of idea, and even if you yourself would look at this person perhaps as a charlatan, or as a bit strange or odd or even laughable, what you want to remember is this person now has real magical powers. For real. They have that a surety behind them, so those are certain things you want to take and change. It's not, well, I run an occult bookstore and I have a bunch of cats and we sit in the back and we talk about the fairies that are watching us. No, maybe they really do have fairies watching them. Maybe their cats really are familiars. Maybe they really can do X, Y, and Z, like turn their car invisible or so forth. That's going to present at the face the same sort of person, but beneath it, a calmer, more relaxed, a tranquility, a power, a strength, and a surety, because they know, and they know for certain, and they know so strong that they might be able to change and transmogrify people around them. Verbena are also great for cults. If you like the cult background, you can certainly easily build up a cult of people that follow and nearly worship you, that think you're amazing. And these can be sort of, again, those sort of same New Agers that we're seeing, the ones you're like, okay, well, they couldn't possibly themselves awaken, but let's put them around this person. But you can also build up cults in a large number of ways. Again, if you look back at the video I did, you can see one individual that has the cult background that has it and uses it in a very different way than you might expect. Still very much Verbena. So when you're making the Verbena, and you can take in these different aspects, and you can find a unifying theme as to why these different people are together. And of course, that's not that difficult when we consider the persecution that's put upon mages, the werewolves that can cause problems, the technocracy, other mages, possibly even vampires or fairies. There's a tremendous amount of antagonists and a potential individuals that would want to take the energy of a node and have that for themselves for many reasons, or the power and potency of the blood of a mage for their experiments, for their hunger. These are all very real and interesting things to consider when creating a mage, when creating that different sort of character right there. Now, in this game, we see a follower of Wicca. And I could take all that, we could put in the darkness, the blessed be, the so mote it be, jumping around, reading Buckman's, what they used to call Buckman's Big Blue Book of Bullshit, what we're talking about, Silver Raven Wolf, or these sort of things, these sort of text. And we can bring that forward and really make an interesting character right there when you bring that aspect in. And you can have clashes from the different religions. We can have someone that follows like that. We can make someone that's more of the Celtic style of Druid. We can make someone who has Greco-Roman influences. We need to be just a bit careful in that, because we can certainly cross over to being a little too similar to an Order of Hermes. But that being said, there's a tremendous amount of possibility in the Greco-Roman, in the Egyptian, in the Babylonian, in the Assyrian, in the various different old world religions. We can bring across some really interesting and entertaining concepts and ideas right there, then put them in a modern light, put them on a character, build that character, add a few things that aren't necessarily similar to that. Okay, this guy worked maybe as a carpenter. He found shadow spirits appearing to him. He found these fairies appearing to him, these red caps. He found strange singing in the night, and crickets speaking with voices. Artemis and her nymphs appeared to him. Pan spoke with him and brought him to strange, bizarre places and orgies and festivals in another world, in another time. He saw glimpses and images of his life in an ancient creek bed as it rolled over the rocks, as the sun glinted down through the canopy of trees, and the wind blew sweetly and whispered secrets into his ear, secrets that still now propel him forward where he knows and realizes his own true destiny. So we can infuse these sort of ideas uh, along with those stereotypes, and we can start building a very interesting character. With that stereotypical idea, sort of your touchstone, your clay, and then you work it, then you change it, then you make it different, and you present it as one thing, and then we see more depth behind that, and we can really quickly do that, and we can bring across 10 NPCs, same tradition, very, very different, very full of flavor. And that's the thing you got to remember about the traditions. They are broad scopes and canvases, and surely many other types of Verbena besides what I'm listing here can be brought forward. But I don't want to sit here and talk to you for an hour and a half on Verbena. Now, if we look at the video we're doing there, the live play, episode 1 out, The Awakening, following that of Jenny's character, we can see a large number of Verbena already being able to be played out very different in different ways. One of them that I particularly find interesting and quintessentially Verbena is Wade. And Wade is not only a neo-pagan, but he's a neo-Nazi. He's a follower of Odinism. He's a follower of old Scandinavian religions. He rides a Harley Davidson, and he leads a group of pagan bikers. He's an Aryan. He is very much a Verbena. And that's something that can be very interesting. Verbena can be looked at as wishy-washy, New Agers. They can be looked at as, this druidic type of people. They can look at the occult bookstore owner sort of concept. They can be looked at as these dark, brooding, sinister, Tempest style of witches. And all of those are great. All of those are fine. And then we have some of those types incorporated, extrapolated, and put into different characters in the game. But this is one that particularly is very real. Very real would be a pagan Odinism. Very popular in prisons. Very popular in gangs of Aryan supremacists. And I thought that bringing that across and saying, this is an awakened individual, where does that person fall? And we put them right with the Verbena, right with the other Verbena. And it creates an interesting, different sort of character, a harder edge, a dirtier, a grittier, and of course, we all know World of Darkness is nearly transfixed with their love of neo-Nazis. You see them all over the place in the game, in Blood Brothers, in Bruges, in a large number of different places. So I think when you put something in the order of, the Swords of Heimdall for the Get-A-Fenris, when you can put something like that in a game, you give them a cult who's a biker gang, you can create a character that is different, that is sort of against this modern sensibilities, that has a bit of a taboo, as racism is really one of our largest taboos in our society as it currently stands, which all the more makes a game that is counterculture like White Wolf all the more fitting and apropos of that setting. And of course, characters can take and interact and deal with those views, those prejudices, those ideas and ideals as they wish. However, putting something like that in a game can be very interesting and provocative, as it can ring very true and very real. You don't want to overdo something like that. You don't want to be cruel or crude or rude, but at the same time, you don't want to refuse to shine a light on any aspect of cultures and subcultures that are going to personify the mage experience. So, you have something like that character. You have characters that practice this old style of dark witchcraft, and you have these sort of neo-pagan Wiccan witches. You can bring across various different New Age cults and build those up to be religions, build those up to be a truth behind them, that this individual that is bringing across their focuses, their particular style of magic. Very, very interesting. And when you're doing Verbena, you can certainly look at the resonance. They're going to be very much entropy to wild base. So, it's your worm to your wild base, your creative energies, your death energies, and that's something that can be very, very interesting, where we deal with that sort of primordial ancient aspect of Godhead, everything from the sun to the elements, to the wind, to the thunder, and then to the personifications of anthropomorphized deities, of divinities, the divinity in the sky, divinity in the mountain in the sky, and further out, but not to that cosmic level. They're contained within the world. The world itself is alive. It's breathing. Is a living thing. Another concept that you can bring across to make Verbena. Very interesting. Very different. Not the same stagnant stock thing that we're going to be seeing over and over again. You get a lot of mileage when you try to make a real person, and then you try to infuse the magic behind them, and you say, okay, how does it make them more confident? How does it make them more proud? How does it make them more powerful? How does it make them more singularly strong in the belief of themselves? And how does that belief in themselves redouble and create the magical entity and individual? And I think if you find that as a base point for mining out the New Age and all its ideas, some of them certainly don't fit right to Verbena, but many of them do, and many of them can be modified slightly to create a very believable Verbena for your mage stories. And it can give you the ideas when you look at several different ones, bringing someone who is a follower of Ishtar, bringing someone who's a follower of Odin, a follower of Artemis, and bringing these different ideas and concepts. Just right there alone, we can style out 3 characters, and that's just a very beginning point with the god and goddess interplay and worship, and the god and the goddess, and taking all those sort of ideas and sayings of the Wiccans and the neo-pagans, the Merry Met and the Blessed Be, and throwing that sort of thing onto one character. And you can get a lot of mileage out of it, because we know right away what will they say, and what will they say in terms of a non-player character is very important, because we can help make them memorable. We can help make them isolated and different. And being awakened, having to be drawn together to a node, there's a lot of easy explanations as to why individuals from different ideas would come together. And anyone that's ever been to a New Age festival, anyone that's ever been to a church of pagans or so forth, to have a look and see how they comport themselves, and find that you certainly will find a lot of overlay, a lot of eclectic aspects to these individuals. And it really is a lot of fun to farm and mine out those sort of ideas, so that we can see what exactly do these people look like, and bring those sort of images and those sort of ideas and start fashioning and forming your characters. And you really find it to be an interesting experience, where it brings forth a lot of possibility and a lot of realism into characters. And when you base your ideas around something real, as opposed to, okay, let me look at this book and have this fantastical sort of idea, I think you can have a game that's going to ring a lot truer. It's going to have a lot grittier quality. It's going to have a more realistic feel. And that, after all, is something you're really going to want. So that is your main man coming to you, talking about Mage the Ascension, reminding you to go get your Within the Ring of Fire books, Drive Through RPG, support the RPG revolution, support Raw Immersive Games. Join Raw Immersive Games on Facebook today. Talk to your main man. Talk to the people that are playing Within the Ring of Fire, the Air Engine. Get your copies today. Jump aboard that express train to imagination. And until then, always contemplate the endless vistas of imagination that await you in the land of RPG.